Aspirants, good to have you back. I know the silence between you and your books is sometimes louder than any classroom, and I want to acknowledge that. This examination can shape the entire arc of your life, and the long stretch of preparation is its own quiet test of character. So before we begin, just notice that you are still here, still working. That itself is worth something. This is the Sociology Desk, issue 035, and today we are doing two things. We are going to read the Maharashtra Teacher Eligibility Test Paper Leak as a textbook case of Robert K. Merton's strain theory, and then we will look at the global Gen Z protest wave reaching Mexico City and Antananarivo through Manuel Castells, Jürgen Habermas, and C. Wright Mills, with one Indian thinker as the comparative anchor. By the end of this video, you should be able to do what separates the top ranker from the rest. Take today's headline, attach the right concept, attach the right thinker, and convert it into a 20-mark answer that actually scores. Event 1. On the 27th of June, the Maharashtra State Examination Council postponed the teacher eligibility test, the TET, after Bhivandi police recovered documents matching the actual question paper. Over 6 lakh candidates were waiting to sit that exam. Now, in your script, do not write this as a corruption story. That is what the average candidate does. And that is why the average candidate scores around 14 on 20. The top candidate maps this exact event to paper 2, the subunit Education and Social Change, and anchors it on Robert K. Merton. So let me explain. Credential Anomie in plain language. Society holds up one shared goal in front of every young Indian: a secure salaried life through a government certificate. That is the cultural goal. The institutional means to reach that goal, a fair exam, equal coaching, equal language access, are not equally distributed. Some students sit in quota with 1 lakh rupees a month of coaching, others sit in a village school with a leaking roof and an irregular teacher. The gap between the common goal and the unequal means is what Merton calls strain. And when that strain becomes severe enough, the system itself produces what Merton calls innovation, which is a polite word for reaching the goal through illegitimate means. Paper leak networks, solver gangs, impersonation rackets, all of these are not random crimes. They are the predicted shadow of credential anomie. Once you can say that sentence in your answer, you have already moved from a 14 script to an 18 script. Robert K. Merton, in Social Theory and Social Structure, formalized 5 modes of adaptation when culturally approved goals exceed institutionally available means: conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. The TE8 leak is innovation. Now here is the line you can reproduce in an answer, almost verbatim. As Robert K. Merton argued in Social Theory and Social Structure, when a society holds aloft success goals as common aspiration while restricting the institutional means of attainment, deviant innovation is the predictable outcome, not an individual failing. Read that line once more in your head. That is what an examiner is looking for. That is your quotable formulation for this paper. Now thicken the answer with a second layer. Pierre Bourdieu argued that examinations look neutral, look meritocratic, but actually convert inherited cultural capital, the right language, the right school, the right home, into the appearance of pure merit. That is what he called symbolic violence. The student who arrives without those codes is being measured on a scale that was not built for them. And Krishna Kumar, in Indian Education Sociology, warned that once the certificate detaches from the actual learning, the credential becomes a commodity. And the moment a credential is a commodity, the leak is just its black market. So in one paragraph of your answer, you have Merton on strain, Bourdieu on symbolic violence, Krishna Kumar on the credential market. 3 thinkers, 1 event, completely accurately attributed. This is what answer writing looks like. Now let me speak as the examiner reading your script. The average paper opens with a definition. What is anomie? What is a paper leak? That is a 14 on 20 answer, no matter how nicely it is written. The 18 or 19 on 20 answer does 4 things differently. 1. The opening sentence is a structural claim. Something like, Mass-scale credential examinations are the modern Indian Republic's central machinery for distributing public sector legitimacy. That is your opener. 2. You name the concept exactly. Strain theory and the thinker, Robert K. Merton, and you attribute the work, social theory and social structure. 3. The TET event itself appears in only 1 or 2 sentences as evidence, not as narration. The current event is your evidence. The theory is your destination. 4. You close on a forward-looking structural conclusion. The state will repair the examination architecture, but the deeper opportunity structure is what makes the leak rational. That is the close that lifts your script. Memorize the moves, not the words. Even 2. From late 2025 into 2026, governments have fallen in Nepal and Madagascar. Presidents have been impeached in Peru. The streets of Mexico City have filled with young people. The New York mayoral election went to a 30-something democratic socialist, and here in India, the cockroach Janata Party launched its first street protest with 22 million Instagram followers. In your script, do not list these as random news. Map them to Paper 1, Unit 7, protest, agitation, social movements, collective action, revolution, an anchor on Manuel Castells, networked social movements. In simple language, the older social movement needed a party office, a printing press, a cadre, a leader. The new movement does not. The platform replaces the cadre. The meme replaces the manifesto. An identity, not just class, becomes the affect that pulls people in. The most beautiful piece of evidence here is one image, the one-piece pirate flag from a Japanese anime, which first appeared in Indonesian protests. Then on the gates of the Singha Darbar Palace in Kathmandu, when Nepal's government fell. Then in Madagascar, with a small Malagasy hat added. Then in Lima. That flag has done a complete circuit of the global south in months. The network is not the accessory of the movement. The network is the movement's architecture. Manuel Castells, in Networks of Outrage and Hope, argued that the digital network is not the conduit of the movement, but its very architecture. Jürgen Habermas warned, long before social media, that when system rationality colonizes the life world, the deliberative public is replaced by the publicity-managed audience. So today the public is formed first and reasons later. And C. Wright Mills, in the Sociological Imagination, said that biography becomes history only when private trouble is read as public issue. So that village student in Madhya Pradesh, who lost his exam to a leak, when he reads his story as the story of his generation, that is the precondition of every authentic movement. For the Indian comparative anchor, M.S.A. Rao located new social movements, not in the most deprived, but in those mobile groups whose aspirations outrun their structural opportunities. That is the credentialed, connected, jobless youth driving this entire global wave. Now from the examiner side. The 14 on 20 answer here writes a long history of social media that misses everything. The 18 on 20 answer opens with a structural claim. The network society reconfigures collective action. It names Castells' specific term, networked social movements, and pairs it with Habermas on the algorithmic public sphere, because that is the empirical normative axis. It uses one piece of evidence, the one-piece flag, traveling from Indonesia to Madagascar to Peru. It anchors at least one Indian thinker, M.S.A. Rao, on relative deprivation to demonstrate comparative range, and it closes on attention. Networks generate publics, but only institutional alliances generate transitions. That tension at the end is what tells the examiner that you understand the limits of your own theory. That is the move that lifts the script. 2 likely questions you should be ready for. 1. In 20 marks, to what extent can the global Gen Z protest wave of 2025 to 2026 be understood through Manuel Castells' concept of the network society? Substantiate with examples. 2. Also in 20 marks, networked social movements have not replaced classical mass mobilization. They have changed its timescale, symbolism, and reach, critically examined with illustrations. If either of these comes, You now have your opener, your three thinkers, your one piece of evidence, and your closing tension. That is the top script. Recap in 5 lines. 1. The Maharashtra TET leak is Merton's innovation adaptation. Anchor your answer on strain theory and credential anomie. 2. Bourdieu's cultural capital and symbolic violence are your second layer, because the exam itself is the gatekeeper. 3. The global Gen Z wave is Castells' networked social movements, with the platform replacing the cadre. 4. Habermas explains what is lost. The deliberative public is replaced by the algorithmic public. 5. C. Wright Mills explains why this becomes a movement at all. Biography is read as history, and that is the structural bridge. Walk into the exam hall with these 5 lines and you are not writing a current affairs answer, you are writing sociology. Before you close this, one practical line. The full-styled PDF brief for today, the model answer, the answer skeleton, the quotation arsenal, the flashcards and the examiner notes, goes only to subscribers of the Sociology Desk. If you would like access, the simplest way is to drop your email in the comments below or write to the team at team@upscdesk.com and someone from our side will share the subscription details. That is it. No pressure. And to close, here is what I want you to carry from today. UPSC preparation is not a race, it is a habit. The candidates who clear it are not the ones who studied hardest on one good day. They are the ones who refuse to stop on the difficult days. Keep going. One more day, one more answer, one more concept sink to a thinker. That is how the top ranker is made. See you tomorrow in issue 036.